Hey YouTube, my name's Josiah, and or you can also call me Saya. My Instagram is Saya_STI. That's SIAHH_STI. I'll put that in the description below. This is actually my first ever vlog slash video. I've been told for a really long time now that I should be making a lot of content because I just do so much Subaru stuff, particularly turbo model stuff. As you can see, I'll talk a little bit more about those. But as of today, I'm gonna kind of talk a little bit more about what I do and more of what I kind of got going on here. So for years and years, I worked in a driveway, out of my driveway. Never had any cover, nothing. And just a couple months ago, I finally moved into this shop here. And yeah, what you see now is kind of what I've got going on. I think I've been here now, what, 2-3 months, and it has just been heaven sent. Very blessed to be where I'm at today with this. So yeah, today's video goal is to kind of just figure out and get used to talking to the camera and play around with kind of some positions. I've got some stuff mounted up on the wall. I also have a little mount over here. So yeah, it's kind of what we got going on. For me, I can do everything. Well, not everything, but I've been working on Subarus for a while now. I can pull engines, build engines, do whole drivetrain swaps, like STI swaps on WRXs and everything. I can do some light fabrication work. I won't claim to be a fabricator because I'm not really that good, but good enough to glue metal together. Here's my fabrication station right here, sort of. But for today, because I don't really have that much space on this SD card, and so what we're going to be really doing is I have a 2014 STI right here, and I bought it off of a buddy of mine. He has a fully built closed deck motor, FP black, AMS manifold that's on a Haltech 2500 standalone ECU. But pretty much, I don't want this car to be the way it is right now. It's definitely got some problems to be worked out as far as some like chassis stuff, because as some of you may know, the 2008 to 2014 chassis are plagued with firewall crack. And this unfortunately does have it, which I may or may not touch on this video. But the goal for me today is to have this engine and everything out of it. So the first thing I have to do is I have to get this thing jacked up, and I got to get all the fluids drained. So let's get to it. And jack it up now. Voila, jacked up. All right. Also, real quick, I just want to apologize if you guys can hear rain, because my unit that I'm in has a tin roof. So I do apologize if you guys hear that in the background. Honestly, I don't even know how the audio is even going to turn out on this thing. I don't know if I need to pick up an external mic or what, but because like I said, this first vlog video, everything is going to be figuring everything out, audio, all that jazz. But now that this thing is jacked up and ready to drain fluids, what I like to do is I like to start by draining the coolant. On Subarus, on the passenger side, there's a drain valve underneath, which I'll show in a second. After I drain that, then I'll drain engine oil, just so that I have dry systems, as dry as possible. So when I start pulling things and everything, I'm not getting fluid and coolant all over the place, all over myself, because one of the things about me is I hate getting coolant on myself, and I'm sure you guys don't like to either. So, but after I drain fluids, really the biggest things about prepping these for engine removal is after fluid drain, I like to remove the radiator, and then just that opens up the front area. I'll remove the intake there, and I'll remove the battery, which I already have the battery removed, and unfortunately broke that little thing. So got to replace terminals on this anyways because it's like corrosion, and I'm a perfectionist anyways. So when those two are removed, that clears up your sides. And on a OEM setup or style setup, you'll have a top mount intercooler, which sits up here. Then I will usually remove the intercooler. But in this case, for me, I've got a front mount on this car that I have to work with. So I'm going to be removing these intercooler pipes, as well as the blow-off valve back here. So then that opens up the backspace area. So once I like to work my way out and make my way in. So once all of that is removed, I will start up on this front area up here. I'll remove the alternator, and then I'll remove the power steering pump right here, and power steering pump will get tossed over on the side. All the lines remain intact, so there's no fluid loss, and the same will go for the AC compressor. When I finish that, I'll toss also the AC compressor. It'll sit over here on the side, and that's mostly what you have to do up on the front area. And then I'll go ahead and remove the overflow tank. And then, so that'll clear this whole front, and then I'll make my way to the back. And once you get to the back, that'll give you your access to your pitch stop, all your upper bell housing bolts, your downpipe hardware, so that you can get ready to pull the engine. So I may or may not go ahead and set you guys on a time lapse on this if I can figure out how to get it to work. But if not, then I'll just get back to you guys once I have all the outer portion stuff removed, and we'll get to it. All right, so you guys just saw me, hopefully the time lapse worked, hopefully. You guys just saw me tear apart most of the top side of this. So I kind of want to talk about a couple small things. One of the biggest things that I want to do with this channel is, other than educate, is I want to show mistakes that I make. So hopefully you guys don't make the same mistakes on your own projects, your own Subarus, turbo models, whatever it is. It applies to really anything you're working on. Now, to be honest, I guess I have a little bit of performance anxiety in front of the camera, and I was trying to move a little too quickly on this, and I ended up trying to pull the radiator out, and I completely forgot to disconnect the fan plugs. So one of the things that I ended up doing is I ended up, I don't know if you can really see that too well, but right here is the pins for the driver's side fan. I accidentally pulled those out. That's not a big deal at all, easily fixable. However, I could have completely avoided that if I would have just slowed down a little bit and remembered to unplug them. Other side turned out fine. I remembered to do that one. One other thing I kind of messed up was for the alternator here. Usually I could just grab these and pull them out. Well, while I was pulling out, I accidentally pulled up on the wires a little bit and pulled this wire out. Also easily fixable, but again, I shouldn't be having to come back and fix little things like this. So I just use like a body clip tool, which I'll show you guys what if you ever struggle. These are super cheap at Harbor Freight. They're meant for body clips and stuff, but you can grab the clip on the connector and just pull back. But what you do to fix those is you pull out the other side, you trim back about 1/2 inch on the wires, strip them, get some new pins from iWire, and put them back in and you'll be good to go. But one of the other things I want to do is, I did not build this car. A very, how do I put it? A very renowned shop put this car together. And I'm not going to name who, because I don't want to start nothing, but they made all the recommendations on all the parts and they assembled the entire car. Now, one of the other things, like I said, on educating is I want to talk about what they also did wrong here. Because as I'm digging more into this, I'm just finding things that are like, wow, really. So one of the things to start with is you have a couple different types of hoses. You have fuel injection hose and you have heater hose. Heater hose meant for coolant, water, whatever. And fuel injection hose is meant for either fuels running through it or part of the PCV system. And funny enough, this line, which is your outlet for your water pump, comes up, and I don't know if you guys can see that too well. Maybe I can grab my flashlight and show you guys. But that is fuel injection hose running water. That is a no-no. Can break down in a certain way. Now, the funny thing is they also did the other way. So a part of the PCV system on Subarus, which you have it on both sides for both heads, and you have one in the center. It's how it equalizes the crankcase pressure in your flat motors. So you can see they teed it off right here. Now, do you notice, or if you can notice, these hoses are very swollen and super soft because they used heater hose. And you can see right here, it's all kinked up. And I got my flashlight in my mouth, so you might hear me a little awkwardly. But it is crazy soft and valuable. I could not be able to do any of that with fuel injection hose. So what happens is the material on the inside breaks down and the hose swells up and it sweats. And what I mean by sweating is it'll actually build like a condensation or an oil-like substance on the outside of the line. And it's not the right way to do things. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna continue on. I might put you guys back on another time lapse, I don't know. But I got everything on all the outer all off. And normally on a NA, or not an NA, but on an OEM setup, you don't have to pull the manifold and everything. You can do it when the motor's out of the car. However, I just, since everything is gonna be tore down out of all this, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the manifold off of this. And so that way I can just go ahead and give myself some more space to work back here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and get the engine mount nuts off, and I will start working on some of the bell housing bolts and get that downpipe off and whatever else is kind of attached. So I'm gonna throw you guys back on another time lapse here. I don't know what kind of music I can use, but hopefully I'll put some cool music that you guys like. Anyways, back to it. All right. So sorry, my GoPro died in the middle of that time lapse. So I didn't get too crazy far. I think last thing was right around when I was either getting the manifold off or the turbo off, one of those two. But I kind of want to touch base. You might have seen me in the time lapse, kind of struggling to get the turbo out, and there's a reason for that, which I'm going to show you now. Right here on the turbo drain, if you know anything about these clamps, you know that they are a pain in the butt. And I just want whoever installed that, I hope you never get to sleep on a cold side of your pillow. You will never find one, I hope, because that sucked. The other thing that I fought pretty good with getting the manifold off was there was like 2 or 3 inside bolts or of the hardware was super corroded, the threads, and it took me longer than I'd like to admit getting those bolts out. And the only way you can get those bolts out anyways is with an Allen wrench. I couldn't stick my socket Allen on there and just, you know, go to town on it because of the way that the manifold's shaped. But, oh well. It's off now, it doesn't matter. Pretty much everything is off, downpipes off, everything's disconnected, heater core lines, everything's disconnected. The one last thing, which I wanted to get on film before I did it, was there is a little Allen. This is one of the last things. I don't know if you'd be able to see that too well, but right down there for STI drivetrains, the clutch fork pivot shaft, I guess, it's held in by a 14 mil Allen, and well, that's just like the cover cap or screw, whatever you want to call it. So you'll undo that screw, and then on the inside of the shaft you can thread in, I believe it's an M6 by 1.0 or 1.25 bolt, so that you can pull the shaft out. Which I had already broke torque on this, so I'm gonna see if I can just go ahead and show you guys what I'm talking about here, because this is the last thing I have to do before I can go ahead and grab my engine hoist and we can get this thing out of here. So grab that. You can grab something like this. If you don't have just a random bolt, actually, funny enough, one of your timing cover hardware actually is the proper thread pitch and everything for it. So you can pop one of those off real quick and you'll be able to thread it in there. And if you've never seen this before, I'll show you exactly what I mean once I get it out. Hopefully I can do it with one hand. Should be able to. There we go. I feel it threading. We'll see if I can get good pull on this. It kind of is. Sometimes you do want a shorter bolt though, because then you could stick a pry bar up against it. So I'm actually going to undo this because this guy's pretty stuck. So I'll take that out and try to do this all one-handed. Grab this, grab the 10 here, stick this on my cordless. All right, we are going lefty-loosey. So just to show you, you could take one of these. Hopefully you don't fall. Throw that back. Same thread pitch. Hopefully you guys can get a good... Please, so you guys don't have to cock your head on your guys' screen here. I'm on my tippy toes here, leaning way back here. Alright, so maybe put my flashlight on that. Okay, so you can see it kind of sticks out a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my flathead right here. And then if all you do is you put it right behind the head of the bolt and right up against the transmission and pry. Oh, jeez. This guy, for whatever reason, is a bit stuck. Started coming out and then tightened up a bit, so I'm going to thread that in a little bit more. And honestly, what this just tells me is that whoever either put the motor in or did the clutch job last or something just did a poor job at greasing this thing. So I'm gonna turn the camera off for a second and I'm gonna see what's going on here. Yeah, and I'll let you guys know in a moment. Okay, so now I got it. That took me about 20-ish minutes to get out. Honestly, that was probably the most pain in the ass one I've ever had to do. And it was just as I thought. There was no grease, nothing, nada on that pivot fork or that pivot rod. So I guess I'll do a quick how I got it was, so over here I ended up going through about 4 of my timing cover bolts here. You can see smoke. The only reason it looks like there's something on it, which is I'll get to it in a moment, well, that's essentially the shaft that you have to get out before you can pull the motor. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to separate the bell housing and the engine. So what I ended up doing was threaded those in, got some penetrant oil, which this is god tier stuff. Croyle, if you can get your hands on this, definitely pick some up. So what I ended up doing was spraying this right into the hole right there, right around the base of, right down here. And then I also ended up removing the rubber, I guess, cover piece for the fork. Oh, yeah, this is what you want. You want that to pretty much drop and disconnect from the throttle bearing. And there's a very thin space between the fork and the bell housing wall right here. I sprayed a little bit there, and then I sprayed a little bit to the other side. And what I ended up doing was I took my no, there it is. Right. So after spraying that, what I was doing is I was taking this and I was popping it, pushing hard and popping it real quick. And what that was doing is it was moving like a millimeter at a time. So I'd keep popping it, get it just slowly, and then it would kind of reach a point where it wouldn't want to move anymore. So what then I would do is I would take my mini sledge here and I was tapping it back in. Or as it came out, I'd spray a little bit more, tap it back in. So what I was doing was I was slowly working that penetrant oil. So I'd tap it back in, and I was working that penetrant oil throughout the entirety of the shaft. I kept doing that over and over. And then it would allow me to come out a little bit more. Push it back in. I was able to come more until I was finally able to completely work it out. So if you ever do a clutch job, or you're putting your engine in, and you're putting in, you know, a new throttle bearing, and you're setting this back up, make sure to put grease on these, because these are not fun to pull out with no grease on them. And that very well may have been the source of our very squeaky clutch. Because while I was busy getting pissed with that, I did end up removing the cowl on this thing, and I was expecting to see a bunch of broken spot welds on the firewall, but these spot welds are actually in pretty okay condition. The only one I was able to see, which the only way I can get this camera down in here is by flipping it, so apologies, but the only one I could see is right back here, starting to separate, but all the other ones are good. I'm still gonna end up doing a humble rumble kit on this just because I'm here already and everything's still already lined up. So bang that out. I still have to inspect the pedal assembly on this just to make sure there's no cracking going on there, but that's off topic. Now that that's out, this engine is ready to come out. So I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna grab my engine hoist, and I'll see you guys back at the car with the hoist. And there she is. The motor is pulled out of this 14 STI, and she is now heartless. Absolutely gutted. Well, not completely gutted, but you guys get the point. So with that being said, now follow-up video on this is going to be completely tearing this engine completely down. Crank, rods, pistons, everything coming out. Going to inspect everything. We're going to see if anything was going on in here. This was a driving car when I pulled it in here. This motor was running fine. Sounded a little funny at idle, but I think that was due to some very obnoxiously thick phenolic spacers paired with some ID 2000 injectors. It's not recipe for a nice drivability setup. So yes, we'll be following up with a full engine teardown on this. Now, I personally have a 2021 STI. Has a full rotated setup. You guys will definitely see it in future videos. But this engine is for that car. I'm going to be completely refreshing this motor. New bearings, so new rod bearings, main bearings. I'm going to keep the rods that are in it. I do have a set of CP pistons that I'm going to be putting in this. It's 1/2-inch studded, has fully built heads minus cams, and I have a set of cams off on the side already. And I'm going to give this engine a complete makeover. And this will be, like I said, going in my STI. So teardown coming after, and then at some point you guys will see this go in my STI. After that video, I'm going to be talking more about this STI. This is also a 21 STI. This is one of my really good buddies, and this is probably some of the best work I've put out. I'm not going to get too detailed about it until we actually get around to it. But in the meantime, I just want to say thank you guys for watching. And if you guys like what you saw, go ahead and subscribe and hit the notifications. Appreciate you guys. See you later.